So what beach did you land on?
Utah, I remember that very well.
Utah.
Utah.
And
Those who landed on Omaha inland the first day, they got in about 600 yards. Utah, we got in about 1,500 to 2,000 yards. And my job with Jim Gunning, we had a cart with bicycle with a long handle, and we were toting Bangalore torpedoes. Sounded like a very long thing, but it was about 6 feet long, and we had about 6 of them on the golf cart, and we put life jackets around them, the little thing that you would squeeze, ignite the air to keep you afloat. The darn thing sunk, so we just left it there. You're supposed to find a lot of barbed wire along the beach. That's what the bank torpedoes were for, to insert under the barbed wire, pull it, run, and explode and put a pathway through it, but it didn't work out.
so when did you first meet Uncle Hutch?
In Camp Carson, Colorado.
You were out in Colorado. And so how did you guys end up getting assigned to the same group?
Well, we had our basic training in Camp Carson, Colorado, and we just hopped on a ship in Newport News, Virginia, and on a Victory ship. Took us 28 days on board the ship. We landed in Iran, Africa.
Yeah.
That's when the war with Rommel was just about over.
Yeah.
And then we took a troop train that was slower. You could run faster.
Yeah.
Chug into Casablanca.
Yeah.
And in Casablanca, we left there on a British cruise ship traveling the North Sea in the wintertime, and that was brutal. They locked all the doors because there was sub-zero and the seas were 8-10 feet high.
Yeah.
And we had poles that were bolted in the floor and poles bolted in the ceiling. And attached to those poles was a hammock. That was your place that you laid to go to sleep.
That was your berth. Yeah.
But it was so rough, the poles broke loose in the ceiling, and all the bunks fell down on the floor.
What were there, 3 levels of guys?
3 levels, yeah.
Yeah.
And all the poles broke loose, and down they came. Well, we got panicked. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
They would land in Liverpool, England, greeted by all the British, waving the flags and blowing the horns and all.
Yeah.
And we took our basic training, and we left town of Beer into Exeter, and walking down the streets. All the British lined those streets, waving and hollering and screaming.
Yeah.
We boarded the ship, another Victory ship, for the invasion of France.
So the unit you were involved in was building engineering?
Engineering, building pontoon and Bailey bridges over bridges that were destroyed by the Germans over the Rhine River, the Meuse River, the Seine River. I had pictures someplace, but they're only small because the Army confiscated the camera, all cameras.
Yeah.
You had to get rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I couldn't bring any pictures back, but that was our job. Building.
So what division were you? What corps or division?
7th Corps.
7th Corps, United States Army.
Yeah.
And what division?
No division.
Engineering.
They're just 230 combat engineers, and we were attached.
230 combat
237
engineering.
combat engineers.
237.
That was our title.
Okay.
And we were assigned to the 4th Infantry Division, of which General Patton was attached to.
I'm taping him.
And we used to build bridges for Patton and his armored tanks to go over. It was interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So you and Hutch were together like the whole time?
Yeah.
Right to the end?
Yeah. Made the invasion of France.
Yeah.
We got on shore and we had a brief break, and Hutchison said, "Son of a bee, I have cigarettes but no lighter or matches."
Yeah, yeah.
So I sat alongside him and took my helmet off, and my helmet liner inside I had matches. And we would just light up a cigarette on the beach,
Yeah.
talking about it. It was interesting. And what the Germans had developed at that time were called shoe mines.
Yeah.
The guy from Kentucky, Bob Estes, I'll never forget. He lost both of his ankles as he went where he was not supposed to go. And the shoe mine will explode, travel a foot, and then explodes. So it'll take all your lower extremities off.
Okay.
That was interesting. Then you hear medic, medic, medic. It was
Yeah.
quite a thrilling day.
So last night you were telling me about that guy that was just shoulder length
Pete
away,
Piccarello, yeah, it was
and
a BAR.
his heel came off in his canteen.
Oh, Teddy Pastula from Athenia.
Okay, and what happened to him?
One of the German 88 shells landed and shrapnel took the heel of his foot right off.
Yeah.
Took a chunk of his behind off and his first aid kit in his canteen. They later took him away. We haven't seen him since. What he survived after that, I have no idea.
What you were saying about almost being hit by a few rounds, but you were unable to escape because of the contour of the land?
Contour of the land,
Explain that.
Those England, France had a lot of hedgerows. That's where the Germans would have their 88s installed to fire to wherever they were going.
These 88s were machine gun?
No.
These were single shot?
No. The German 88s were big artillery shells.
Oh, shells. Okay.
When they landed, you could feel it.
Okay.
And we were told, if you hear the whistle, don't worry about it, it's going to go over your head. But if you don't hear the whistle, it's going to be a problem wherever you are.
Oh,
So bury your head.
yeah.
And then postal we had an orange grenade, and we had quite a lot of fire back and forth, so we all hit the ground. And because of the terrain of where the people, these were our own troops firing at us, that we were here. But the ground, had it been level, we wouldn't have been around. But the ground, it was like this. So the shells were going over our head, but you could hear the whistle of the shell going by your head. That was a close encounter.
With your own troops?
With our own troops. They didn't know who we were.
Friendly fire?
The postal way had the orange grenade in, and firing stopped when he pulled the cartridge on the orange grenade.
Which was like a
Designated
smoke.
friendly troops.
It sent off a smoke?
Yeah, orange smoke. It was interesting. 70 years ago, it's hard to believe. Here we sit, May
How old are you?
27, I think,
You were
26.
You were 26 years old when you were there?
Huh?
When you were there, you were 20?
27, 28.
27, 28.
Well, maybe even younger. I was married at 28, so I'd say 25, 26.
What year did you enlist?
1943.
40.
Got out in 46.
Uh-huh. What was the happiest memory you had there?
The ship, the Victory ship in New York Harbor
That was the happiest memory.
with the tugboats shooting up their streams of water and other, I shouldn't say, people on their own boats, like you had a 30-foot, you'd be riding around blowing the horns.
Yeah.
And then shooting streams of water. That was thrilling. Go up to New York Harbor.
What was the first thing you did when you came down the ramp and
Kiss the ground.
touched on American soil?
Kissed the ground.
You did really?
All of us. Yeah.
How many of you? All of
A
you?
lot of us.
Yeah. Was there anybody there to meet you that day?
No, unfortunately, I landed in New York, transported to Fort Dix, and we got to discharge orders.
Yeah.
And there I was dressed with a coat down to my ankles, a big winter coat, combat boots, Eisenhower jacket, with not a helmet, but a helmet liner. And I took the bus from Newark up to Clifton. I walked home from Clifton Avenue, from Main Avenue, all the way down to Maher Avenue. I knocked on the door, my mother was there, Arnie. She, hello, like I just was gone for 2 or 3 days instead of a couple of years. Like nothing ever happened. That was interesting.
What's the one memory that that you would recall that was not pleasant?
The Hurtgen Forest.
The forest.
Hurtgen.
Is that where the truck came down, ran over a few tents? Tell me about that.
It was interesting. Well, we were told to dig in. Nick Peruta, who at the time was about 200 some odd pounds, and me were told to dig a foxhole. Now it was bitter cold.
Yeah.
The ground was frozen, so we ended up under a trailer to protect ourselves. And we realized the trailer was loaded with explosives, but we never knew. Bitter cold, bitter cold. Hurricane fire in the Ardennes. The hurricane fire was the worst.
Yeah.
When we came into a small town on the outskirts of Liège, Belgium, and Hutch went up to the house, and there's a lady there that he called Madame Lugan, who had a farmhouse, wood-burning fireplace, and she offered us to stay. It was Jim Gunning, Hutch, Iron Peaks, about 4 or 5 of us. We're allowed to stay in a barn which is attached to the house. And in the barn were goats. Things to get milk from the goats and whatever. And we slept there for 2 or 3 nights, I'll never forget it. And Madame Lugan's husband used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, pack his lunch and leave to walk to go to work, which was I don't know how many miles, and what he did I have no idea. So because Hutch knew somebody, got a truckload of coal, not the peat coal, but the heavy big stuff, was delivered to her front door, and that's what she used in her fireplace, was the coal. That was an interesting, unforgettable event.
I remember as a kid growing up, in one of your top drawers, there was a leather case with a German Luger pistol in it.
Yeah.
How did you come about that?
Cut that off a German officer on the half-track.
And he was
One
dead?
of my guys had used a bazooka, and that destroyed the half-track.
Okay.
Killed the guys, but the officer jumped out of the front and was running. Somebody shot him, I didn't. So with my bayonet, I cut his gun belt. I took it off,
Yeah.
and I kept that home, and that's what I had at home.
Yeah.
It was a Belgium 9mm, not a Luger.
Yeah. So back then you were able to take weapons like that you had confiscated, and you could bring them into the United States.
Yes, once you got cleared from the Army.
Oh, so the Army had to give you clearance
Yeah.
on that. Go ahead and
And
take
on
it.
the holster, I had 326-00771. That was my Army serial number.
Is that right?
I got rid of that gun when I was living in Boynton Beach. I wanted
Yeah.
the condo.
Yeah.
So I got rid of it.
Yeah.
Your mother woke up one morning, you had the gun in her head.
Jeez.
How you found it, I have no idea. I finally got rid of it.
Yeah.
And I had German swords. I sold it to a guy living in a complex in Boynton whose son was a collector.
Uh-huh.
So for a few bucks, I sold it all and got rid of it.
What else did you bring home with you? There was a bayonet, I remember.
Oh yeah,
That was a
that went with the gun. We didn't have the bayonet at home.
No. No, there was a knife in a sleeve. I remember a knife with double edge.
Oh yeah,
Two
that
edges.
was the knife I'm talking about.
That was the German knife.
But
too.
I sold it.
Yeah.
The Army souvenir.
What else were you able to bring home?
Nothing.
Any medals?
Yeah, I had an Eisenhower jacket, and I had a good conduct medal, a British medal, a French medal, Legion of Good Honor, and about 6 of them on my lapel.
So each medal was like a bar?
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
attached
All
to your
right.
left breast.
What was your rank when you got out?
Tech 5.
Honorable discharge.
Yeah, that's, you go to the gravestone of your mother and you see living as Army Tech 5 specialist.
Okay.
What it means, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I drove a truck.
Yeah. And you helped build bridges.
Huh?
And you helped build bridges.
Yeah. Not bridges, pontoon bridges, inflatable.
So did they bring them in sections?
They came in sections, they got them bolt together.
And you bolted them together.
And we were in someplace in France, I don't remember. Hutch called me about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We had to go to a town called Pfaffendorf.
Yeah.
Because we ran short of Bailey Bridge's parts, and he knew where to go. So here's this road, and here's the truck, Ernie driving, Hutch alongside of me going to Pfaffendorf, and all hell broke loose. We left the truck, we didn't run, we fell down the embankment and just laid there until the shelling was over.
Yeah.
And we got back into the truck, drove into the town of Paffendorf, loaded whatever we had to get, back to camp for the guys to finish building the Bailey Bridge. That was an experience I'll never forget. The sky lit up like the 4th of July, shells all over the place.
So when the guys got home from the Korean War or the Vietnam War, they weren't really welcomed home. When
No.
you got home, did you feel as though you were welcomed?
Oh yeah, we really got welcomed.
Yeah.
That's why I said the fire boats in New York City and the excursion boats, as well, I was mentioning before, all blowing their whistles and horns.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It's a good experience. And then, I'm trying to think of his name, the funeral director in Passaic. Forget his name.
DeMarco?
No. He was responsible for every year after we got home, there'd be a celebration of all the Army's members of 237 engineers would meet.
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans,
Yeah.
Riviera,
Yeah.
which is here in South Florida,
Yeah.
Baltimore, Maryland, New York City. So we would meet in different places all the time. And then he died, and then it all fell apart. Everybody was starting to die, and nobody left.
Yeah.
And here we are, 94.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, 70 years ago when you're over there and you're in a bad situation and you're very in fear of your life, do you pray?
You're too young to realize what's going on.
You're too young to pray?
Not to cry, but to be afraid, you know.
No, to pray.
Oh, no, never. Never too young. Now, one trip, Hutch said, we were marching, I could forget how many guys, 5 or 6 in a troop, to go on to investigate an area which they thought was a lot of Germans. And walking down this road, Hutch held everybody up, and he pointed that tree. He said, I think there's snipers up there, but I'm not sure. So Pete with his BAR, me with my M1, Jim with his carbine, we opened fire on the tree, and down fell 2 or 3, 4 bodies. German young kids, 12, 15 years old.
With weapons?
With weapons, with scopes. They were snipers.
Wow.
They were planted all over.
So Hutch saw that.
Hutch saw that.
He might have saved your life.
Very possible, Jim.
Mm.
Very possible.
Mm.
Very interesting. Sometimes when you think you have it made, it doesn't work out that way.
I remember when you came to the house one time and Jason, my son, was sitting next to me. We invited you into the room and we put a movie on called Private Ryan.
Oh, I had to walk out.
And you had to walk out.
I had to walk out.
That was hard for you to look at, wasn't
Hard, I couldn't. I had to walk out.
Yeah.
Even if I saw it today.
it? Yeah.
About a month ago, on the History Channel, they had the German Reich, the German Fifth Reich.
Yeah.
And it all pertained to Hitler, SS troops, and what they did to the Jewish peoples. Totally unbelievable. The 237 Combat Engineers was the first American troops in the town of Buchenwald, which housed a concentration camp. We didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
The concentration camp was full of what called Quonset huts.
Mm-hmm.
They were shaped like this,
Mm-hmm.
with doors on either end. And when we got there, I forget who it is, called me over, and where the Quonset huts came and met the ground, what did you see, Jim, with a hand?
Mm-hmm.
The people trying to dig their way out before they were gassed.
Mm-hmm.
That was a sight I'll never forget either.
Mm-hmm.
I can still remember it today, 70 years later.
Yeah.
That's what the SS troops and Nazis did. They gassed them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dig him up with a forklift, take him out and bury him.
Yeah.
You know, Walt Wheaton remembers all that. He was 9 years old.
Yeah.
Could sit and talk to him for a long time. Very interesting.
Well, there you have it.
Okay, put it on tape.
It's on tape. Dean Andreotta, this is for you to pass on to the rest of the family when you get older.